What's up, guys? I have a very special guest, Will Atherton, here with me. One of my best friends that I've never met in person, and it's been since probably 2019. Yeah. 2019, we kind of became like internet friends, and our relationship grew. I know a lot of you guys watch him. If you don't know who he is, make sure you check out Will Atherton Canine Training. He has amazing training videos. It can help you guys immensely with your training. Want to tell them a little about your channel before we get started?
Yeah, focus on behavior modification, some kind of puppy training stuff, but yeah, anything that you might be struggling with your dogs. We make videos on how you can have perfect canine companions, and like my mate Bruce here.
And the dog courses I'm always promoting, guys, Will is the head of those. Will is the teacher on them. He is training you guys on how to essentially have this. There is puppy training courses. What's the new one you just released?
So we just redid the boot camp Perfect Canine Companion,
Yep.
so it's even better than it was.
Yep. There is socialization courses. There is crate training courses, 7 Days to Heal course. There's something for everyone. And I get questions a lot like, oh, my dog's in a Cane Corso, can I still use it? Yes, they're for every dog, every breed, every age. Your dog's never too old to be turned around and change their behavior. I'm sure you'd probably agree with that. Yeah, it may be more challenging compared to, raising them properly from the start, but it can always be done.
That's what I always say. It's best case scenario is to get it right first time round.
Yes.
Then you don't have to do kind of any modification stuff, or it's just little tweaks.
Yep.
But it absolutely doesn't mean that if you made some mistakes early on, or it wasn't until your dog's a year old and you go, oh, I've underestimated what I needed to do here, that you can't fix issues because you can.
I was talking to Will, one of the common questions I get from someone that just is going to get a Corso. Any tips? Yeah, do it right from the start. Educate yourself before you get them. Understand what you're getting. You're going to get a Corso. It's not going to be a Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, I always tell people, wasn't Bruce Wayne until like year 2. He started to really come into himself. He has always had a very good nature to him. So, that comes from the breeding, but I could have totally ruined that and totally changed it around.
That's the thing I always say, though. I don't think people don't quite grasp what it took you to achieve Bruce. I work with a lot of Corsos in England, and people always bring up Bruce. I just want my dog to be like Bruce, and kind of the truth, the tough love truth sometimes can be everybody wants a Bruce Wayne, but not everyone's prepared to work for it and do what you did to achieve it. And I know you can be humble sometimes, but I know what you put in to achieving this and what you're doing for Joey to be the same.
Yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice. People don't realize, like, when you have a dog, you are literally sacrificing part of your life, because this is all that the dog has is me and Kara. That's all he has is us. And it's just sad to see when people get a dog and just think walking their dog once a day and feeding it is dog ownership, dog leadership. It's not.
So people make the same mistake with training as well, and it comes from a good place. I'm going to get this new puppy and I want to train it right, so I'm going to book some puppy training classes. And there's this misconception that if you book an 8-week program, 2 hours a morning on a Saturday morning for 8 weeks, that's your puppy training.
They're going to have it. Yep.
But it's 24/7.
It is.
From day one for the rest of their life.
That's what I say.
Even just being hanging out with you for a couple of days, you're working Bruce.
I'm training him
all the time, constantly putting reps in, testing him, tuning it up. Always. It never ends.
You can't let your dog get away with anything, and that's what I try to really convey, especially since I have a puppy. It's really easy. I like to let our viewers know that what you do with your dog, like this, you're training your dog. You're training your dog to do something you want them to do, or train them to do something you don't want to do inadvertently.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm sitting here eating some chicken and the dog's being annoying, and I'm like, it'll just be easier for me to give him a piece of chicken. He now believes that every time I'm sitting here eating chicken, he should get chicken, and why shouldn't he? That's how he should feel, because that's behavior I just instilled in him. So it's like, you always have to be really mindful when you have a dog of what you're doing and how you're acting around them. I mean, you see what I do with Justice and Bruce. It's like, I make him wait before I let him out. Before he comes in, he sits at the door. Before he eats, he sits down, they're always being worked, always.
And people think that those things are like trivial or like, oh, you're just being too extreme, Jason. But I went to the gym with Jason and the dogs this morning, and at 18 weeks today, far superior trained to the vast majority of adult dogs. But it's not necessarily like, obviously you put work in training him at the gym, but the reason he's so good at the gym isn't just because of what you did at the gym. It's a result and a knock-on effect of all of those other little things that you do day in, day out. Making him wait before he goes through the door, making him wait before he goes back in. All of those little things have the knock-on ramifications that when it does come time to want to train him in the gym, well, now it's easier and or more successful. Whereas if you ignored all of those things and then you try and train him in the gym where your communication's not very good because you've not been working on it in those situations, your relationship's not very good because you haven't been working on it in those situations, means that it's either very, very difficult to do that kind of specific training or impossible.
And there's a girl there working her dog. Actually, she seemed like she was working on distractions. And I had Justice off leash. I have Bruce off leash. And I get a lot of people that think I fake it. You know, I'll get in the comments and Will can attest, like...
That's why I had to put it on my Instagram story. I was like, I try and do it as behind the scenes as possible. There was no faking that whatsoever. Even I got a little bit nervous when I saw the other people coming in with their dogs. I was a bit like, are you sure, Jason? Because I've seen it on video that they're amazing, but I'm living it right now. And both of them clocked to the other dog, but didn't move, didn't make a fuss. Just a testament to leadership.
He was very alert of what was going on, which is fine. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be alert of his surroundings. He's tired and wants to cuddle. But I just can't emphasize enough, like, doing things from the start proper with any dog you get, because, like Will said, it's much easier to raise them properly than try to change the behavior, because at a point in time, certain dogs, not all of them, maybe you see it with rescue dogs, it gets to the point where now you have to work with the dog's issue because you can't totally change what's in them. And a lot of people just want this with their dogs. They want chill, mellow dogs. You guys see Justice down there sleeping? I haven't worked him at all today. We went to the gym, Bruce played with them twice, and I fed them. But if I was to be all amped up and run around, he would be ready to go. I get that a lot at the gym, like, oh my God, your dogs are so mellow. I'm like, they may look mellow, but it's like 7 a.m. He wants to play, he wants to jump, he wants to run around, but it's that self-control and discipline because of how, I use the word militant a lot, how militant I am all the time. Like, I don't let my dogs get away with things.
And it's like the rules, boundaries, and expectations. There's a time and a place. Right now, it's not the time or the place for you to be playing and losing your mind. It's the time and the place to be mellow and relaxed. In the gym is another time and a place to be relaxed and calm.
Exactly.
When we go for this hike that we're about to go on, I'm sure there'll be like some times like, sweet, off you go and play, go and run. Actually, no, now it's time to drop into heel and walk nicely. Maybe let them out in the garden. Cool, go and play. Let's get the toys out. It's a time and a place, and you put those rules and boundaries in, and you dictate when the time and the place is. The dogs don't make those decisions.
And I get a lot of people ask me, well, how do I become a better leader? And just exactly what we're just describing right now, because having him sit at the door before he comes in, having them on a stay in the gym, they're looking at me for direction versus I'm going to do whatever I want because he's not my leader. So by constantly working with them in the house, you know, sit, stay, just little, what you said seems trivial to people. Like, that builds up your leadership. That builds up like them looking at you.
But what I find that's really nice about it, and this is something that oftentimes it feels trivial to first time owners, or not even necessarily trivial, like extreme, like you're always having to think. And like early on you are, but me and you, we've been chatting non-stop, and we can hold a conversation and you barely even break eye contact, but you'll be doing that with your dog. It's just, you almost like subconscious to you now, isn't it? And it's the same with me. I can't not do those things now, but I'm not having to, I've just made it, as much as it's routine and consistent and militant for the dogs, it's the same for me. So you ingrain it as a habit, and then that's just how you learn to live with your dogs.
Exactly.
So it's not like, a constant 24/7 stress of having to think this and this and this.
It becomes
just
natural.
routine.
It's so routine. And the same with corrections. Corrections are all about timing, right? If your timing's off, the dog's not going to understand. Most 9 times out of 10, not going to understand what they're getting corrected for. So over time, it's almost like natural.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle reflex. As soon as the dog like puts his paw up here, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not even like, I'm not even thinking about it. I just see he's about to do it. It's like a correction. I've seen you correct the dogs. Like Bruce tried to jump on you. It's like a quick correction. It's just like so natural.
Again, I can't help it.
Yeah.
I can't.
And like, I want that,
jumps up, and I can't help but just time that like that. No.
Yep. It's so natural. And what advice can you give these guys with corrections, like how to get that proper timing? Because for us, it's like, what do you mean? You just do it. It's just easy. You just, the second they do it, you correct them. But that's because of all the reps we've done with ourselves, with all the dogs over the years, over our entire life. What steps would you tell people they should take so they can start getting that proper, perfect timing with corrections?
Well, you're right. First of all, it does not the difficult truth, but just the reality is that it's just something that you get better at over time. And again, it becomes quite ingrained. And it doesn't necessarily, the same works for kind of marking good behaviours. I tend to say you've got about a couple of seconds max from a dog displaying a behaviour to either communicate to them that you like that behaviour, and that might be a marker, whether it's yes, and I use good boy Bruce Wayne. You've got, when he's doing something, you've got about a second or two, you mark it with good boy Bruce Wayne, and he knows, oh cool, what I'm just doing. After that time, it's kind of, he doesn't really know what it is that you're marking it for. Correcting's the same thing. You've got about a second or two to let him know, hey, no, don't do that, please. I don't like that behaviour. And then after that, it's kind of irrelevant. The dog doesn't understand, which then actually is where corrections can make things worse, because then they can feel confused and anxious. The classic example is your dogs. You've not crate trained your dog, you've come home and they've shredded the furniture. Now, they might have done that 3 hours ago while you're at work, and then people come in and start scolding their dogs, and they have no idea. So all they're then doing is essentially pair it. So again, if jumping up's a good example, the second he goes to jump up, correct it and deal with it. So it's very, very clear that I'm being corrected for this jumping behaviour. If you come in and scold your dog, you can accidentally be scolding them for you coming home. Like they might pair it with them coming to greet you, and then you've scolded them, and then they become fearful and anxious of you, and they might not want to greet you in the same way. So timing's the thing that while you're waiting to build up reps and experience through practice, focus on timing, which is where I then call it kind of choosing your hill to die on. There's a lot going on, and sometimes when it comes to corrections, especially if your timing's not quite there or you've missed out on it, don't worry, just kind of relax, wait for the next time, which is then when you can set things up. And that's the best thing that I can, if you know that your dog's going to jump up a visitor every time a visitor comes in, don't wait for it to be a random person just calling by. Set it up. That's where I'd say you can use tools, slip leads, or even prong collars, whatever tools you're using, and then practice it with a neighbour or a friend. And you're like, so that way you're like, right, I'm ready. The second it happening, I'm on it. I'm ready to get the timing right. And by practicing it like that, by setting it up, you might get a good amount of reps in there. And then when it does happen randomly, you're ready to kind of deal with it and address it a bit better.
And that's actually two things to that. One, your dog rips up your couch, you come home. I know there's gonna be people like, oh, my dog knows if he did something bad. No, that's fake news. The reason your dog's looking sad and scared is because you're angry, you're puffed up, and your dog's like, holy crap, why is he about to why is he so angry at me? That's the look the dog's giving you, not like, I'm so sorry I ate your couch. The second thing is, I'm always talking about setting your dogs up for success. And he's talking about setting your dogs up with a correction. That's setting your dog up for success. Because now you're in a controlled environment. You know Bruce is going to jump up on you. I have his prong collar on. So I'm setting this behavior up so he jumps, so I can give him a correction and stop that. So he starts understanding, that he can't jump up on random people in public, for example.
Now that might be for when something's already gone wrong. Now, when it comes to getting it right in the first place, because you've been instilling that from second one, you might not need to ever set that up, because I've already seen it. Joey knows to not jump. It's not an issue. And Whereas that's kind of more for, oh, it's already gone wrong.
Yep.
He has now developed, because oftentimes when a puppy's really young, 8 weeks old, and they climb up your legs and it's so cute and you want to fuss them. Well, again, remember the timing thing. When they've jumped up and you praise them, so you've rewarded them for jumping up. That's all that's happened there.
Exactly.
So then, but it's all very well and good when Joey's 8 weeks old and does it. But if you then have a dog that's this big, getting in someone's face, it can be a disaster.
Yep, because then, especially with a breed this serious, Bruce jumps up on someone. He tried jumping up on Will. He doesn't jump very often. I was actually really surprised, but Will corrected it. But you have, let's say, obviously you could tell Bruce was not a threat to you. Bruce loved you. He's like, oh my God, I love this guy.
And that certainly wasn't jumping up, not just to blow smoke. It was kind of an excitement
like
hop.
a little pony hop, right?
Yeah, it was a play hop.
Yep, a play hop. But somebody that may be scared of a dog sees a dog, gets scared. That nervous energy is now projected onto Bruce. Bruce is like, wait, why are you scared? What are you about to do? When you have a guardian breed, that could turn into a disaster.
Absolutely.
You know?
And then that's where it's your job as a handler, owner, to be able to manage that situation and communicate what it is that you do want and don't want.
Yep.
Which is that's where I really like tools.
Yep.
Because you're kind of a lot like me. I think you're very comfortable and confident in being quite assertive, and you can communicate to your dogs without the need for tools. Lots of verbal stuff. Some people aren't that naturally as confident as we are, and that's why I like to use tools, because it kind of bridges that gap of confidence.
Yes. Yep.
So what you can achieve just with, if he was about to put his paw up then and you didn't want it, just with your verbal correction, carries that assertive, confident energy. Some people just don't naturally have that, which is where I would then say, you might want a house line or a slip lead on, so that when he does that, you can bridge that gap of confidence with the tool that helps communicate in that 1 second moment. Please don't do that, buddy. And then when he does this, same thing happens. Good boy.
Bruce Wayne is
and then you could reward that little scratch on the back. Perfect.
Which you've been seeing, probably you notice I'm making their food, they lay down, I'm praising them. You know?
And it's the thing I always talk about, especially because I am a balanced advocate, so a lot of people want to talk about corrections and tools.
Look at his head next
But
to that
my
dude's
system is 95% positive. And again, it's easy to miss that. It's easy to miss those moments where you're like, Joey, wait. And you wait, good boy. It's easy to forget about those moments and then only focus on the 1 time out of 10 where you might have to say, hey, stop.
Yeah, exactly.
But then the rewarding is equally, if not much more important.
Yep. And we're going to get in that video in the next one. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, ring the ding-a-ling, do all the thing-a-lings. Go visit Will's channel, subscribe to him, and we'll see you next time.
What are they doing to these dogs to make them that big? That's what I don't understand.
Bruce Wayne is normal. He's a normal cane.
I've never seen Bruce Wayne.
Oh, he's a psycho. Yes, Bruce Wayne.
Is it Cane Corso?
Yes, that's Bruce Wayne.
That's a big dog.
That's Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is insane.
How much does he weigh? Look at his head next to that dude's head.
That's his girlfriend. That's his wife. That's how Bruce Wayne is like 6'2".
You imagine breaking into that house and that demon comes for you?